everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be talking about some books that are at the top of my wish list right now. So I have really been trying to read the books that I own and diminish my TBR, which for those of you who don't know is my to be read pile, and that means it's all the books that I actually physically own that I haven't read yet. So my TBR pile is quite big, and I filmed a video at the beginning of the year updating how many books I had on it, and I think at the time of that video it was like 150 or something like that. It was a lot of books, but now it's sitting somewhere at around 130 at the time of filming this video at the end of April. So I have been doing okay. I have done some unhauling, but what I have been doing is not really buying books. I have been working on just reducing that pile and reading what I have. The only time I've really been buying books is if it's new releases and something that I'm super interested in, or if I'm buying it, like I've only been buying books from Book Outlet, and that is only like, I think I've only done it once so far, and I'll do it one more time and then that might be it probably. But other than that, I've been really good. Somehow though, I feel like my TBR hasn't gotten that smaller. That's kind of confusing, but nonetheless, there are still some books that have come out recently or have just come into my mind or on my radar recently, and I really want them, but I have been resisting buying them. So these are those books. These are the books that are at the absolute top of my wish list that if I were to go to a bookstore right now, I don't know if bookstores will be open by the time this video goes out, probably not, but if I had the ability to go to a bookstore at this time, these would be the books that I would be resisting buying, or I would just give up and buy them because I have no willpower. So let's get into the list. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of a bunch of random books that I'm excited about and I wish I had right now. And as a chronic shopaholic, it's a struggle not to buy them, so I'm just gonna talk about them. The first book is Anna K by Jenny Lee. This book I had kind of seen around and I thought it was an adult book, but it's actually YA and I didn't really know anything about it. But one of my favorite YouTubers to watch and one of my favorite people in the world, Olivia over at Stories for Coffee, read this book and loved it. And her and I tend to like a lot of the same books, so I really trust her opinion. So when she said that she liked this book a lot, immediately it was on my radar, and since then I haven't really been able to stop thinking about it, to be honest. So it's an Anna Karenina retelling. I haven't read Anna Karenina yet. Maybe I will by the time you see this video. I won't, but like, I'm gonna dream. But the main character, Anna, is sailing above all the problems of day-to-day life that average teenagers deal with. She has it really easy until she doesn't. She goes from being at the top of society with a perfect boyfriend and making her Korean American father proud, to meeting this notorious playboy that kind of changes everything for her. So as the two are irresistibly pulled together, things start changing, and that's where the story goes. I don't really know what Anna Karenina is about. I just know it's like a very famous classic and one that I do want to read eventually, but I don't really want to know what it's about, I don't think, before reading this, unless I'm actually gonna read OG Anna Karenina, which probably won't happen because that book is a damn brick. But I feel like going into the story not knowing a lot could be an interesting way to go about this retelling. I don't really know. We'll see. I honestly can't really explain my thought process behind not wanting to know more about Anna Karenina before reading this book. Like, I don't know. What an interesting way to start the video. Next is Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. This is kind of the book that inspired this whole video because one, Tricia Levenseller, I've read all of her books so far and really enjoyed all of them. And two, I just kept on seeing this book everywhere. And I didn't pre-order it because I kind of got away from pre-ordering books. And now I'm like, I know I'm not going to read it right away, so I don't really want to get it. Like, I'm trying not to get books if I know I'm not going to read them right away because I want to wait and see if they show up on Book Outlet or something like that where I can save a little bit of money. So this book has been testing my willpower. I've only ordered 2 books that were supposed to be on this list, but this was one that I was really close to getting, and I still, like, I might go back and order a couple more books so then I can get this one. But I'm trying to resist. It's so hard though. This is all about the main character, Alessandra's plan to gain power. So that's definitely like, why does she want to gain power? I don't know, but I want to know. But in order to do this, she has to woo the mysterious Shadow King. Then she has to marry him, and then she has to kill him and take the kingdom for herself. Like, why is all of this happening? The plot is so intriguing, and I just keep seeing this book everywhere, and it has just made me want it even more than I originally did. So like, I'm having a lot of struggles right now probably by the time you see this video, I will have ordered this book, because like I'm really thinking about ordering it now, but like struggles are being had presently. So I'm just editing this video the day before it's supposed to go up, but I haven't ordered this book yet. I have like kept my willpower, which is honestly shocking to probably everyone. Next is Thorn by Intisar Khanani, and this is actually a reprint, I believe, and a re-release, but it is a retelling of The Goose Girl, which I read The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale, and it is one of my favorite series. I really love it, so definitely intrigued by this one because I've never seen any other Goose Girl retellings, although I do think I have 2 on this wish list here. But this one is all about Princess Aurelia, I believe that's how you say that, but a sorceress has robbed her of her identity and her role as princess. So she actually seizes this opportunity to escape and start a new life as the Goose Girl. This not only has a beautiful cover, but I think that premise seems really cool, like this princess wanting to start anew and kind of be her own person, and I'm definitely intrigued by that. Next is The Midnight Lie by Mhairi Rutkoski. Mhairi Rutkoski is the author of The Winner's Curse, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but I am intrigued by this one. However, I do have slight hesitations because it is set in the same world as The Winner's Curse. However, this deals with status in a fantasy world, which I think could be really cool. So only certain people are allowed to experience the pleasures of society based on their status and where they fall. Nirim goes about life keeping her head down so as to keep herself safe because she is also harboring a dangerous secret. But she ends up meeting Sid, who is this traveler who entices her with these rumors of magic. I think that plotline definitely interests me a little bit, so it kind of takes away from my hesitations based on the world that it's in, but we'll see. Like, I am willing to give the author another try. I just think that some of my issues with The Winner's Curse were with the world it was set in, so I'm not sure how I'll feel about this one, but it is still on my wish list, oddly enough. I can't explain myself. I make no sense. Next is Don't Read the Comments by Eric Smith. This book I think was on my most anticipated releases for 2020 list. I don't quite remember, but then I've seen a few of my friends read it. Jesse over at Jesse the Reader read it and really loved it and said it was very relatable. So I'm expecting this to be a really relatable story. It deals with gamers though, so a bit different, bit of a bigger community, definitely a scarier community to me, but still I feel like being someone who is exposed to social media a lot and comments that come along with it, I think this will be a pretty relatable story. So Divya streams playing an online game that's really popular, and she uses the money that she gets from that in sponsorships to help her struggling single mother. On the other hand, we have another character, Aaron, and Aaron gaming is his entire life. His mother wants him to be a doctor, but he has absolutely no interest in that, so she doesn't like that he games so much, and he also helps to write games for a local developer. Now the two of these characters end up connecting in the game, and they're suffering alone in real life, but they're able to find solace together in the game. However, there are some issues with comments and how cruel the internet can be, and that is the premise for the story. So I think that that is a really important premise to dissect, and I'm really interested to see what the author is going to do with that. This book is kind of near the top of the list of if I do actually cave and get The Shadows Between Us, I will probably also get this book too. I don't know when this video is coming out, I can't remember, but it's gonna be really interesting to watch it back and see which of these books I caved and ended up buying. Hopefully not all of them. I need to have some willpower. Next is Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. This is a story about Mozart's sister, which just sounds so cool. I think at one point I had an arc of it. I swear I did. I think it might be at my parents' house though, so I'm not able to get it, so I will definitely have to get my own copy. But essentially, Mozart's sister wants nothing more than to be a composer, but at the time she's living, she's a female and she's not able to do that. She's not respected, and she basically can only have music as a hobby until she is marriageable age. That's what her father has agreed for her. So as she is trying to rise up and make it as a musician, her brother is way steps ahead of her. Because of his gender, he's able to do that. Now a mysterious stranger shows up and offers to make all of her dreams come true, but obviously there's going to be a cost to that. So I feel like there might be kind of a magical element to this. I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that. That's just literally me going from like this mysterious stranger offering to make her dreams come true. Kind of to me denotes that there might be a little bit of magic to it, but it might just be a straight up historical fiction. I'm not too sure. However, either way, I am definitely intrigued by that plot line and think it could be interesting to learn a little bit more about Mozart's sister. I'm assuming he actually had a sister in real life. I really don't know though. The next book on this list I actually already bought, so we're doing well. So the next book was supposed to be Alice by Heart by Stephen Sater, but I ended up buying it because when I was looking up the synopsis for this video is when I actually like looked into what this book was about. A lot of you guys had asked me if I was interested in it or if I was gonna buy it, and for some reason I just wasn't, but I had never really looked into what it was about. But when I finally did, I was like, oh my god, this sounds like everything I want and more. So it's about this girl during World War II. She's taking refuge in the London Tube during the Blitz, but she's confronting grief and loss in present time, but also she is finding solace in her favorite book, Alice in Wonderland. So it's told partially in Alice in Wonderland, but partially during that time period when she is hiding in the London Tube. I just feel like everything about that sounds magical. So I don't have it yet, but hopefully I will have read it by the time you see this video, because I think that the second it shows up on my doorstep, I'm gonna pick it up and read it right away.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I am planning on reading it soon though. Hopefully.
Next is The Devouring and Gray by Christine Lynn Herman. This is kind of a weird book. Like in terms of the synopsis, it confuses me a little bit, to be honest, but it's set in rural New York and you have the children of the founders of this town in rural New York, and there's this beast that haunts the woods on the edges of town, and bodies start showing up at the same time as one of the founders' children has shown up. So I don't know what to make of it, but I know when this book first came out, I had seen it everywhere. People were saying, I think it was a mix of like Stranger Things, which I don't like because it's too scary for me, and oh, what's it called? The Raven Boys, I think was the other book they were comparing it to. So I don't like Stranger Things, but I also like the Raven Boys a lot. And also something about the book just definitely intrigues me and makes me interested in it. I can't really explain why. There's just some certain books that I have on my radar and I can't explain why I want to read them, why they interest me, but they do. This is kind of a case of that. Next is Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. This is a YA romance and it follows two characters. So the one, her family owns this fast food chain that is thriving. It is this giant fast food chain and she also is doing really well for herself. She's swim captain, she's an overachiever and a perfectionist, and she also runs the family business Twitter. So she runs that fast food chain's Twitter. Now, there ends up being this viral Twitter war that happens because her family ends up stealing the iconic grilled cheese recipe of the other character. I'm gonna give them names because that's gonna be confusing. Did I give her a name? I don't know, but her name is Pepper and then his name is Jack. I'm sorry, I had to check my notes for that. I could not for the life of me remember it, but
Pepper Jack cheese. I just got it. Oh my.
Jack is class clown and an absolute thorn in Pepper's side, but his family owns this deli and his grandmother has an iconic grilled cheese recipe that Pepper's family's restaurant ends up stealing. So there's this whole huge Twitter war, and that sounds like actually a really interesting premise, dealing with a Twitter war. Obviously, I feel like it's kind of setting up for an enemies to lovers romance, but we'll see. Next is Bloodleaf by Crystal Smith. This is the other Goose Girl retelling on this TBR, and also the other book that comes to mind when I think of a book that I can't explain why I want to pick it up, but I do. I feel like it has a similar cover. The original cover, at least, they changed the cover, but the original cover was pretty similar to Devouring and Gray, and for some reason when the two of them came out, I just wanted both of them, but I never actually picked up either of them. Weird. But like I said, this is a Goose Girl retelling, which definitely ups the intrigue for me. So we have this princess who there's an assassination attempt, and it reveals that she has these hidden magical abilities, so she has to flee, and she is stuck in an enemy kingdom plotting her revenge. Next up is 13 Doorways, Wolves Behind Them All by Laura Ruby. Laura Ruby is the author of Bone Gap, which I own and haven't read yet, but should probably get to. That story is a magical realism, and this one I don't think has a magical realism element to it, but it deals with two women, and one of them is living and one of them is dead. That kind of sounds like it might be magical, but I think it might just be jumping in time. So Frankie was left at an orphanage and it was supposed to be only temporary, but then her father returns with a new wife, so that obviously was not temporary. So her and her sister are left abandoned, and this is during the end of the Great Depression but the start of World War II. So they're holding on to the ruins of shattered America. That's what I got from the synopsis. It doesn't really make any sense. I'm not sure who the living woman is and who the dead woman is. and maybe that's the point of it, but I definitely kind of like the idea that it's at the end of the Great Depression going into World War II. I don't think I've ever read anything that deals with the Great Depression, so I know that this book, I believe it was at least a nominee for the National Book Award. I'm not sure if it won, but so far all of the National Book Award, I'm pretty sure, nominees or winners that I've read have been books that I've loved. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but if my memory serves me. So that definitely kind of has me interested in this book. Also, the time period, historical fiction, has been nothing recently, so that has it on my radar. The synopsis confuses the hell out of me, to be honest, but it makes me more intrigued at the same time. Next is The How and the Why by Cynthia Hand. I've read quite a few books by Cynthia Hand. The Last Time We Said Goodbye is one of my favorites by her. It deals with suicide, and I think it does it very well. Now, this book deals with adoption, and I've only ever read one other book that dealt with adoption, and I liked that book a lot. So Cass is living the perfect life. She has the perfect parents, but as she was adopted, she's never been able to know where she came from. However, someone wrote her a series of letters, and it was actually her pregnant teenage mother. Now, the story is alternating between her searching for answers and reading these letters and the actual letters from her pregnant teenage mother. I think that that combination is dynamite. First of all, I think it's going to make for a really well-rounded and emotional story, and I think it's going to be a different take on adoption, because the one book that I've read about adoption before didn't have the perspective of the parent so much who was giving the child up for adoption. So I think having that added to the story as she is trying to find these answers for herself is going to be very interesting. And finally is If I Never Met You by Mhairi McFarlane. I'm sorry if I pronounced that name wrong. I think that's how it's pronounced, but I'm not entirely sure, and I wasn't able to find anything on it, so I apologize. But this is an adult romance, and it follows a character who has broken up with her partner of over 10 years, and obviously that's really heartbreaking, especially because they work in the same office, and he shows up at work with his new girlfriend, and she's pregnant, so there's just a lot happening there that would definitely be a stab to the heart. However, a chance encounter with the office playboy in an elevator that has broken down presents an opportunity for the both of them. Office Playboy is trying to prove to his boss that he's actually a good guy, and he thinks that a stable relationship with a good girl would help to prove that to her. Now, this is pretty much perfect because this fake dating thing will just work out for the both of them. It will make the old partners jealous, but also it will allow him to look like a good dude. So, fake dating, I love that. Enemies to lovers maybe sort of thing. I'm not sure if she hates him, but like Office Playboy makes me think she probably isn't that fond of him, but definitely the fake dating thing is what has hooked me with this one. So those are all the books that are on my wish list. It's a pretty long wish list, and I feel like it seems like I don't know a lot about a lot of these books, but I think I'm also just tired, so I apologize for that. But I hope you guys still enjoyed today's video. If you have any of these books and have read them, please let me know which ones I should move to the very top of my wish list. I feel like as I was reading these through, a lot of them I was like, you're moving up and you're moving up and you're moving up, so we shall see how many of these I'm able to resist buying. But thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!